The Sky Bet League One weekend was an extended one. It started on Thursday night, and it started with, if I'm honest, probably my favourite moment of the season so far. Huddersfield against Bolton. And George, with 2 minutes to go, there was 5 points between these two teams in the live table. Huddersfield on 22, Bolton on 17, having played a game more as well. But by the end of it, Bolton had turned it around to win from 1-0 down and are now above Huddersfield in the table. Game of the season, surely, or at least talking points galore in League One.
Yeah, I mean, a seismic result, I think, for both teams, where Huddersfield, who started so well under the new manager, were going through a bit of a rocky patch. But this would have been a huge result in order to steady the ship. Bolton, who've looked so promising so often this season, off the back of a really weird result against Burton, losing 3-0, finally, lose this one, and they're losing ground massively on the top end of the table. The first half an hour or so, Huddersfield were pretty good. I mean, the majority of their chance creation came thanks to set pieces, and the goal came from a set piece with Castledine in acres of space in the middle of the box to head home. Pretty uncontested, the opening goal, and then Bolton kind of came back into it. And in the second half, it was relatively one-way traffic. Bolton coming forward time and time again, unable to find a way through, and it kind of felt like their chance might have gone as we went into injury time. But what happened next was ridiculous. And interestingly, Amario Cozier-Dubry has been one of the most exciting players, I think, in League One so far this season. He looks to be a cut above, and he was kept really quiet for the most part here. They did a very good job on keeping him quiet. And then Josh Dacres-Cogley gets the ball on the right-hand side, puts it across, cleared back out to him. He gives it to Cozier-Dubry in a relatively, on the right-hand side, but back to goal. He spins away from his man, finds a yard to get the cross in with his left foot, puts a brilliant ball in. And Sam Dalby, who was the villain of the piece at Burton, having missed two really good chances when the game was 0-0, with just a brilliant header. Initially when I first saw it, I thought maybe there was a push there because he seems to get so much distance between him and the defender in front of and behind, but absolutely not.
Prime Niall Quinn.
Yeah, really good, kind of a planted header, diving to his left. And that was dramatic enough after 94 minutes or so. Derby goes and grabs the ball. They kick off.
That's the detail that I loved so much, was Dalby running into the goal to get the ball back to halfway. Let's go again. Look, we can't prove this, but I don't think there'd be many players or teams who would equalise in the 93rd minute of a big game at Huddersfield and would act like that. And of course it led to...
And also, especially given one who really needed that goal. I think from a personal perspective, you could have forgiven him if he had absolutely lost his mind in front of the away end. And then from kick-off, Huddersfield attack down the right. They get a throw in. The throw is given to Harness. Harness crosses a really kind of poor cross that is just booted away. And it turns out to be an incredible clearance because suddenly Morley is in space running down the left. And he plays this pass, which is like when he leaves his foot, you think he's played it miles behind Burstow. But it's actually genius because there are two defenders who are racing back alongside Burstow, but they're both goal side. And by playing it the other side of Burstow, it basically enables Cozier-Dubry to make the run inside the defenders, who both basically just start travelling towards the ball. Burstow shows amazing feet to basically pivot and get away from his man and roll the ball into Cozier-Dubry, who fires the finish. It's not the most convincing finish. He's obviously, his absolute focus is on making sure that he hits the target, and understandably so given the circumstances within the game. And he does that. Nichols nearly makes a very good save, but parries it into the top right-hand corner. And absolute bedlam. Both goals in front of the away end, both goals coming late. The relief, I think, having looked like the better team for an hour or so of the game and being unable to force it, just one of those moments that is iconic. And for a young player like Cozier-Dubry to get the assist and the goal, I mean, this is why I think loan spells can be so good, because he must be feeling absolutely incredible now after such a disappointing and difficult spell from last season when he was out on loan at Blackburn.
Yeah, he was very happy in his post-match. It was some scenes in that away end. And Burstow as well, another one that's really benefiting from a loan. Again, small detail that just really loved. The weight of his through ball to Cozier-Dubry for the winner. It shouldn't be like high difficulty. It should be a simple pass. But I feel like you often see players get that wrong in a counter-attack like that. Either over-hitting it too far in front of them, or, as is often the case, playing it slightly behind them or not into their stride, so it plays to their back foot and they have to slow down. And if that had been the case, if there'd been anything wrong with that pass, the defender probably would have got across and Cozy Dewberry would have had a more difficult job getting a shot off, albeit I'm confident he still would have. Fantastic night for Bolton. It's amazing how much things can change in just 5 minutes, because for Huddersfield now, big doom and gloom. You know, you think of it from the fans' point of view. They went into this game with 2 wins in 6 games beforehand, a decent start that had slowed down, good chance to kind of assert themselves here, early set-piece goal, a nice bonus. And what followed is just so unsatisfactory, I think. Like, on a couple of different levels, really. One, you just watch wave and wave and wave of attacks from the opposition when you're at home, a team that you expect to be competing with for honours this season. And they're the ones playing with much more energy, excitement, technical ability, freedom, speed, northern football, if you like, at its best. And then you also don't see it out. So you don't show the grit to see out a game that you probably don't deserve to win anyway. And so now it's doom and gloom stations. I mean, someone on the squad made the point that Huddersfield, their squad would surely suit a 3-5-2. Ironically, a Mike Duff 3-5-2 would probably work quite well. In that they've got loads of CBs, including ones comfortable enough on the ball to play as outside centre-backs in a kind of dominant team. They don't have many wingers, not particularly standout wide players, I wouldn't say. And then they've got all these strikers, and Alfie May is kind of the talking point after every defeat, because Alfie May doesn't play up top for Huddersfield. He generally does play, but he almost never plays as the number 9. And people just wondering, why buy May in the first place if you don't want to play League One standout goal scorer from the last 5 seasons in an area of the pitch where he's going to get lots of shots off from the areas that he typically scores from. In Grant's defence, he is now the 3rd straight manager in a row that quite clearly does not want to play Alfie May up top. First it was Nathan Jones, and he was very open about the reasons why. It didn't fit what he wanted from his number 9, as much out of possession as in possession. And he thought the team would be better off, and the team would probably be a better attacking team if May played in a different position or not at all. And then Chris Davis at Birmingham last season. Yeah, May did play a fair bit, and his goals per 90 rate was very good. But Chris Davis didn't really want to play him as a number 9 either. And now Lee Grant doesn't want to play him as a number 9. So it's a fascinating conversation. There's a very simple way of looking at it, which is what's being now kind of held up by the Huddersfield fans. Of why don't we play this guy that guarantees 20 goals a season up top and get 20 goals a season from him and kind of go from there? And the managers, Grant and others before him, look at it from a completely different angle, which is, I want my team to look like this, I want my striker to do this, and I don't mind if he's good at doing other things, because that's not what I'm prioritising from that position. And I think it's kind of an interesting situation to be in. Not ideal. Huddersfield not only in poor form and not where they want to be in the league table, but they've played 7 of their 12 games at home too. So they've had lots of opportunities to be better than this, and they need to find something quite quickly, because just a kind of a painful few weeks. I don't want to go over the top. Defensively, the numbers are really good. We've seen some good attacking play and patterns, just not consistently enough. And they need to find a bit of verve. Talk about verve. Wow. Wimbledon win at Plymouth Argyle by 2-1. They win away again. They win from behind again. That's 5 wins and a draw in their last 6 games for Wimbledon. And it just gets better and better, really. Some stats via Arash and Ed, big Dons fans on Twitter. First time they've won 3 away league games in a row since October 2016. That's 9 years. Their last 6 league games, they've gained 9 points from losing positions. They gained in the 74 league games before that 8 points from such positions. It's pretty crazy at the moment. It's a hell of a roller coaster ride for the Wimbledon fans. For Argyle to be 1 up after 6 minutes, the divine ponytail Laurent Talai surely on his way to cult hero number 9 status already. 5 and 8 league games, putting you ahead. Not ideal to end up with nothing. Still reflects they've got a long way to go to become a serious winning football team. Omar Bougil headed home the equaliser. Asked afterwards in his interview, all of your goals this season have been headers. Is that something you've been working on at the training ground? Bougil said, I think it's just the only thing I'm good at. Well, he is
amazing.
Seriously good at it. It was a lovely cross from Hippolyte, who's been excellent this season. And then Reeves and Seddon combined to win the ball back up the pitch. Reeves with the cross, Marcus Brown with the finish for the winner, Bishop making saves when needed. Just all the attributes, all the hallmarks of a good away win. And next up for Wimbledon, Burton at home, Peterborough away. 2 teams in the bottom 4. It's almost terrifying, like from a Wimbledon point of view, where they are in the league table. It's like, is this where the bubble bursts against 2 teams that now all of a sudden we expect to beat because we're in the top 4 and they're in the bottom 4? Or are they just going to crunch them? Are they just going to squash them? Are they just going to keep moving forward like a big blue and yellow tank? I don't know, but it's going pretty damn well. George, tell me about Jack Wilshere's introduction to life and introduction to managing against savvy managers like Nigel Clough.
Tell me about Jack Wilshere's introduction to life. I don't know if I know.
He's just Luton till he dies.
Welcome home. Welcome home, Jack. Welcome home. Yeah, it was just a bit of a shocker all round, really, for Wilshere. Not in terms of his own performance as manager, because there was some moments where Luton looked very good, and I think after half an hour of the game, I think most Luton fans would have been pretty happy as to what they had seen thus far in the game. But poor Nahki Wells. I mean, if you're a Luton fan, hearing that, you're thinking, why poor Nahki Wells? He was terrible. He's been terrible all season. But you wouldn't wish this on anyone, because Luton get a penalty after half an hour or so. Wells misses it. It saves. And then, 5 minutes later, he gets the ball on the halfway line and plays a beautifully weighted through ball. The only issue being it was not to one of his teammates, it was to Rhys Oates, who finishes brilliantly. So you miss a penalty and your own error gifts the opposition a goal. Mansfield then got a penalty. It's a funny one, this one. Like I think they should have had a penalty earlier in the second half, but there wasn't given. I really don't like this penalty decision at all. Mads Andersen is kind of charging out to try and clear the ball. Evans gets there first and kind of diverts it at point blank range to his hand, which is like away from his body, as hands always are. I just don't understand why there should be a penalty. I just do not understand why, it's not a shot. It's a ball that's kind of being diverted into the area without any real intent for it to go near the goal. Like, why should a ball hitting his hand in that circumstance when there's genuinely no advantage to be gained and no intent at all in a guy who's just moving quite quickly trying to head it? Why should that result in a 0.75 chance of scoring a goal? Like, I just think football's losing itself with this handball stuff now. It's just ridiculous. But that's not Mansfield's fault. It's not Tyler Roberts' fault, who finished it off very well. I just hate it, and I'm getting so bored of the consistent. How there are probably 3 or 4 games every week that are decided by just a ball smacking someone in the hand, and because the hand isn't basically on their hip, then therefore it's a penalty. Anyway, Mansfield fans, please don't take that personally. It's not a point about you. It's a general point, and a very good win for Mansfield, who managed the situation very well and were able to see the game out relatively well too. For Wilshere, it's just so frustrating, I guess, for him. They weren't bad by any stretch. We saw some nice patterns of play. We saw them looking to get the ball and dominate possession and get the ball down and play and move it quickly, which is all good things. But it would have been so good for him, I think, to come in and immediately stop the rot. But instead, any kind of positivity and excitement around the appointment has just kind of been replaced by, why are we still so bad? And a lot of Luton fans wondering, like, if things don't get better soon, could they be in genuine trouble of a yet another season of struggle?
Yeah, Reading fans headed west to Cardiff and had a pretty fun first half, actually. Lewis Wing hitting the bar from a free kick. Gabe Osho, a former Reading youngster, no less, with another giveaway at the back. Paddy Lane missing a big chance, and then eventually they did go ahead. And it was Lewis Wing from way downtown, as it so often is, with a swerver that caught Nathan Trott on the hop and Reading fans going nuts in that away end. And maybe this was going to be a good day for them. It wasn't. They lost 2-1. Second half, Cardiff kind of butt their ideas up. Kellyman with a shot that went through the goalkeeper. Joel Pereira injured for Reading. Not ideal. One of their best players. And this was from Stevens, an unfortunate error in his kind of first game as deputy. And then the winner came down the right-hand side. I kind of feel like I've seen this goal plenty from Cardiff. Attacking down the right-hand side with Capaccio heavily involved from right-back. This seems to be where they are at their most potent and repeatably so this season. I think Isaac Davis was involved with some good movement off the ball, and Capaccio, just a really composed on-ballsman, and picked out Josef Salek, who peeled back and finished first time for Cardiff's winner. I mean, Salek scores the winner, but Will Fish essentially won them this game with an amazing goal line clearance as Reading continued to put the pressure on. From a Cardiff point of view, I'm unimpressed with this performance, even if they won. I think conceding 26 shots at home to Reading is not a great sign for Cardiff. Their next 3 are away at Bolton, away at Blackpool, and then a game against Huddersfield, which I think is the international break weekend, and therefore I think will probably be called off. But some big games coming up, and they will have to defend better than this. Otherwise, they will lose at least one of those games, if not more. And I think for Reading, kind of two things can be true. I'm also unimpressed by them this season. I'm not hugely surprised. We're obviously, we predicted them to drop quite a lot in the league table. I do think there's a good chance that another manager could get more out of the team than Noel Hunt, but I also appreciate, as the owner clearly does, kind of the wreckage left behind by De Jong, and I recognise what I think has been a big overperformance of the last 2 years, which is very hard to sustain forever. So I kind of think all of that stuff, and then I also think this performance is kind of encouraging, even though they lost. I definitely don't think you sack a manager after a performance like this away at Cardiff. They have got Northampton at home in midweek, though, and that's obviously a big one for Noel Hunt. Lincoln-Stevenage was always going to be an intriguing one, George, in terms of how the game looked, with two teams going well to start the season, and the result, a 1-0 home win.
A 1-0 home win that could have been way more. This was basically total domination from Lincoln over Stevenage. Alex Ravel said after the game that they just weren't at it. They couldn't match Lincoln's intensity throughout the game. He didn't seem particularly worried or panicked. I guess it's maybe not a massive surprise that a team who were in such sparkling form and performing basically better than anyone thought they would do, an international break may not have come at the best time for them, and that's how I looked here, because basically from kick-off, Lincoln at the better side and were throughout. Just a classic EFL fair goal from Rob Street. Basically, the ball comes into the box, there's a ricochet, the Stevenage defender slips over and nearly gives away a penalty, massive penalty appeal, it's cleared, it comes sent back in again, there's another penalty appeal, Lincoln players appealing for a penalty as Rob Street fires into the top right hand corner. About 4 highlights in one clip, but a really good finish from Street, who kind of continues this trend of Lincoln just having a really nicely balanced attacking attacking 5 that they rotate through, and here it was Street who actually started up front with James Collins coming off the bench for the last 20 minutes in his place. Street, who's been playing kind of off the right for the most part of this season, not necessarily his strongest position, but staking his claim to kind of really go toe-to-toe with Collins for that starting striker role. Stevenage only had 4 shots throughout the game, none of which were on target, whereas Lincoln kind of, I think it was 18 shots, 4 big chances, and just the 1 goal, but a generally very, very strong performance from Lincoln. So a bit of work to do for Stevenage, I guess, now to try and get back to where they were. We mentioned a couple of weeks ago that despite the good start, there were maybe some signs that it wasn't going to stay as good as that, albeit no reason they should drop off massively. But Lincoln, I'd say one of the teams to take out of this League One weekend. Really, really impressive performance, and scoreline that could have been much more than just the solitary 1-0 win. Nice.
Doncaster 1, Northampton 2. Very much going to form here. Ben Close put Donny ahead with a deflected shot, but Northampton didn't let that knock them off their stride. Ethan Wheatley, on loan from Manchester United, England under-20s international, had his best moments, his best game, his best performance, or most telling contributions as a senior player so far. He scored a beautiful finish, first time, cross from the left, set piece, and he just opened up his body and guided it into the far top corner. Sensational finish, really. Really, really high difficulty. And then won a penalty with good feet, scored by Sam Hoskins, to put them 2-1 up. And Yeah, I like that from Wheatley. I think he had a tough loan at Walsall last season where he came in as part of the, oh my God, we need to replace Nathan Lowe. Let's get a highly touted youngster from Manchester United. For whatever reason, it just didn't work, and he was barely used. I think people were surprised when he was hired on loan, or signed rather, from a team in the league above, and then has basically started every game he's been available for with Northampton, not very rich up top. I think there's signs that that's been a really good bit of trust and faith put into Wheatley by Nolan, because although he hasn't been filling up the stat sheet, the score sheet, like, I think he's been playing pretty well, growing into things, and they will certainly benefit from that if Wheatley does, if his development does accelerate a lot. They've got a good striker on their hands, and certainly look like it here. This is a Cobblers side with the joint most points in League One in their last 8 games, 16, which is really, really good stuff. And a Donny side with 1 point in their last 6 league games. And the way that this game ended, with Doncaster 1-0 down, or 1 goal down rather, at home, but Northampton the ones queuing up to score another, missing a penalty, having other big chances, really reflects where the two teams are at the moment. One of them kind of doing the most that it can in Cobblers, focused and motivated and just making things work, and one in Donny who just seemed to have lost all the air out of the balloon and needs pumping up somehow. Loads of 1-0 wins. George, why don't you tell me about Rotherham and Leyton Orient going head-to-head, and then Stockport Exeter?
Yeah, not loads to say on both. Obviously, a really important win for Rotherham this, who need to build up some kind of momentum under Matt Hamshaw. And I think the kind of key to this game lies in who scored the goal, because Sam Nombe should and is such an important player for them coming back from injury. He came off the bench at half time and scored the solitary goal of the game, showing good awareness to kind of get himself into the 6-yard box and prod home. It was one of Rotherham's 4 shots in the game. The first half of this game really was a half that happened. Only 3 shots in the whole game, and basically nothing of note apart from Connolly of Orient having a shot that was saved midway through the first half. After Nombe put Rotherham 1-0 up, it was classic of a team that have squandered quite a few good positions this season. A team that isn't used to winning. Orient, just relentless pressure. They had 11 corners in the second half, throwing loads of men forward, but just unable to find the winner. Sonny Perkins had a decent opportunity really late on from a corner, as did Omar Beckles, but neither could find a way through. So it wasn't necessarily a classic, deserving win of Rotherham. It's not a win where you come away from it saying, look out for Rotherham, they're improving. But significance of this win is massive, both in terms of actually getting over the line and also the person who scored it, because they should be a much better team with Nombe leading the line. I'm sure Richie Wellens will be wondering how on earth they've lost this game.
He went full flamethrower. I'm quite keen for the pod League One segment not to always be reading out Richie Wellens' post-match quotes, so I won't bother, but it's worth a watch. It is worth a watch.
Did he not feel like they deserved to lose?
No, the complete opposite. He went in on his players big time.
Ooh, hello. Okay.
Yeah.
Including his son?
No, didn't mention his son.
Fair enough.
Right, Burton 0, Peterborough 1. This was a huge win for Peterborough. They're off the bottom, and they've beaten in-form Burton as well. And perhaps unsurprisingly, at the Pirelli, they had to withstand some first-half pressure from Albion. Posh didn't have a shot until first-half injury time, in fact. And Alex Bass had kept things level with a couple of smart saves at that point. By no means was it absolute pure domination. And then, really nice winning goal. Starting with smart play from Harry Leonard, who hasn't scored yet for Posh, but there's been loads of things that he's done that I've noticed that I like. And so I'm going to give a bit of Harry Leonard love as a striker who still hasn't scored for his new team, because we like to look at the game a little differently. Anyway, he was the key man in starting an attack that ended with Archie Collins just absolutely smashing it into the top corner on the bounce and winning the game for Peterborough, who had Tom Lee sent off near the end. A couple of late set-piece skirmishes for Burton, but Peterborough see it out, win, come off the bottom, and in their next game they've got Blackpool away, who are... Well, that's the current bottom two. Blackpool bottom, Posh second bottom. No Tom Lees for them. Bit of a shame. George, Stockport, Exeter?
Yeah, we nearly forgot about it. And there wasn't loads to say about it. There's another Stockport performance where at 0-0 they were pretty good. They got the goal through Nathan Lowe. A free header from a corner. And then second half was weird. You'd have thought from that position Stockport would continue to dominate, would look for a second or maybe even a third. But instead it was Exeter who had... way more chances in the second half and came pretty close to scoring. Connolly with one off the line and a couple of other opportunities too. Again, a shooting just wide. So there's something strange going on with Stockport where I still think they're one of the best teams in the league. I think basically at 0-0 they might be the best team in the league. And for a team under Challenger generally have been very adept at winning games of football. They're just having some trouble at the moment managing the games. The only time they didn't really was when they were down to 10 men. But yeah, a bit of confusion. I mean, some positivity I think to take out of it for Exeter, who are by no means outclassed away from home, are one of the teams, one of the league's best teams. But good for Nathan Rowe to get a goal. I think it might be the case that we start seeing him on the score sheet quite regularly from now.
That'd be nice. And then Wigan beat Port Vale 1-0. They needed this. They needed this win. And they were making the running in the first half, having the majority of the opportunities. And then Dara Costello, George, I mean, he's trying everything to hit the ground running. Or, I mean, he hasn't hit the ground running. He hit the ground hard and went splat. And he's trying to get up and running as a Wigan player. And unfortunately, he tried a bit too hard here because basically what happened was at 0-0 in the first half, he got sent off for bicycle kicking Carl John's head rather than the ball. And if I'm honest, this is always a tough one for me because I'm a big bicycle kick guy, right? I think they should be attempted more. I spent a lot of my childhood practicing bicycle kicks on my bed. And in real match situations, I once hit the post with a bicycle kick. I've never scored one. And that's one of life's great regrets for me. So I say all that. But then also, when you kick someone full in the face, around 6 feet off the ground, it's hard to argue that that's not dangerous play. I still think that maybe we could insert something into the laws of the game that says, sorry, mate, but I was trying to do a bicycle kick there. Maybe just a yellow, as mitigation.
He's off, yeah?
Yeah, maybe just a yellow, specifically if it's a bicycle kick attempt. Anyway, Wigan still won without Dara. Vale, just very weird trend in this game. Every highlight was Vale just doing really bad headed clearances and causing themselves problems as a result. The one that cost them was Ronan Curtis's loose header across, which Asamoah intercepted to score the winner. And as important as kind of going ahead with 10 men, I think for Wigan was staying ahead with 10 men and seeing it out, which they did pretty well. So, good win for Wigan, much needed. Two draws that were both kind of worth talking about. Firstly, Bradford 2, Barnsley 2. The first team to take any points off Bradford at home this season were Barnsley. Sarsavik had put Bradford 1-0 up. It looked like it was going to go to form. And then Reyes Cleary, who's done a couple of pretty good things recently, has done something will he ever do anything like this ever again? Will he ever do anything better than this ever again? Surely not. He is getting onto a loose ball in his own half, on the edge of the centre circle, inside his own half, just launches the ball at the moon. I don't believe he's trying to score. I think he's attempting a moon landing, the first ever football moon landing. And as he hits it, you can hear a couple of ways from the Bradford fans. I don't know why you would ever do that, but I kind of understand. The way he struck it, it's just it's like a clearance almost. And you can just hear a couple of Bradford fans giving it way. And then quite quickly they realise that Walker is running back towards his own goal and that ball is dropping now. And Sam Walker is tangled in the net and the ball's in and Cleary has scored right in front of the away end as well. That end. Just unbelievable. It was in the air for 4 full seconds, George. Serious hang time. And just incredible.
Incredible. I think it's the best of the kind of inside your own half goals I can remember. A, because of the distance, where it's not just inside his own half, it's quite a long way inside his own half. B, the just sheer ferocity with which he kicks it is just quite fun. And then the way that it goes in, it just falls between the keeper and the crossbar. It's an unsavable shot from 70 yards, which is quite fun with the trajectory it goes in. Absolutely loved it. Incredible moment. And for those away fans, it must have been just 4 crazy seconds where you go from being what has he done to any chance? Oh my God. And then it's in. Incredible.
They then had a less sweet moment where Stephen Humphreys scored really nice back heel to put Bradford 2-1 up. Humphreys, formerly of Barnsley, no muted celebration, just did the griddy. That's the first time I've ever said that out loud. The griddy celebration. And,
what's that? Can you do it for the YouTube viewers?
I will not do it for the YouTube viewers. Bradford missed loads of chances here, and they were made to rue them when Patrick Kelly finished off nicely at the near post for 2-2. And it was Barnsley who went closest, really, to winning it. Phillips hitting the bar with a rasping Adam Phillips trademark drive. Entertaining game. Good point for Barnsley. Not much Bradford really could have done here, I don't think, if you look at the way the game panned out. Just one of those days. 2-2. And also, we had late drama at Blackpool. George Elek.
We did, yeah. Blackpool taking the lead through Ashley Fletcher 1-1 that he finished very well, and then a ridiculous second half with Wigan. Again, like similar to the Rotherham chat, like Blackpool, not a team used to winning recently, who played very well in the first half, and then in the second half had one shot and completed 70 passes, 28% possession. This was just Wickham. Like wave after wave of attack. They didn't necessarily create that many good chances, but they came close to scoring quite a few times, if that makes sense. Grimmer had a shot saved with about 20 minutes to go. Lowry had a shot really well saved that was going kind of top right before the keeper got there. And then in the 12th minute of injury time, with all the Blackpool fans doing that thing where you walk down to the front, you don't want to leave early, but you still want to try and miss some of the traffic. So you just go and stand at the bottom, so you can, as soon as the final whistle goes, maybe one clap and then you just turn and you go. And so they were all standing down there in front of where Grimmer fired it across Peacock Farrell into the back of the net to make the game 1-1. It was probably deserved on the balance of play. Massive frustration for Blackpool in what would have been a really important 3 points to pave the way for the new manager to come in, who is seemingly going to be Ian Evatt. I was teeing you up there to come back to me. I thought you were going to be like, who's that, George?
Take it all the way to the house.
Yeah, reportedly, Ian Evatt is set to come in as Blackpool manager, as per Alan Nixon, and a couple of other journos too. I think this is a really good appointment, personally. There is no manager who is like a better example of someone who has like so much good in their CV, who has a bad season, and now the narrative seems to be they're absolutely terrible, and I can't really understand why. We know that sometimes when a manager is at a club for a certain amount of times, things start to get quite stale or rotten, and I think that's what happened at Bolton. But you cannot forget that he took over Bolton as a underachieving League 2 side, delivered them into League 1, took them to the playoff semi-final, took them to the playoff final. Yeah, of course they should have gone up. Like, no one's denying that, and they should have beaten Oxford, or they should have at least been much better against Oxford in that game. But that doesn't take away from the catalogue of good performances that came prior to that, not only at Bolton but also at Barrow. He's the man who took Barrow out of the National League into League 2. He's obviously, in terms of his character, rubs some people up the wrong way, says some pretty strange stuff in press conferences and interviews, but he has an affinity with Blackpool. He was there as a player, he was part of that Holloway team, and I think him going somewhere where he's kind of known and loved is very important, because otherwise, had he gone somewhere he wasn't known, necessarily loved, and things didn't start so well, the way that he talks may have upset some fans. So yeah, I think this is a really good appointment. I'm excited to see how it goes. I think it's a good one for Evatt, because I'm pretty sure he'll get Blackpool away from trouble pretty quickly, and then he has a nice, a season and 3 quarters in order to deliver to the Blackpool owners and the fans where they want to be towards the top end of League 1.
And that will close, or rather end, the October managerial merry-go-round in League 1.